Hi everyone, Rukshan here, and welcome to this very first episode of In Case You Missed It with Real Rukshan. Now, the format of this show is a bit more informal, and what I want to do is just show you videos and photos and news stories that I've been following throughout the week, which I find interesting. Now, in the space of a week, so many things can happen, and we don't always get the opportunity, especially myself as an independent journalist, content creator, whatever label you want to give me. I don't always get the chance to write about these things or show these things, but I think it's interesting to kind of share these with you. These other organizations, these other independent creators, these other amazing content creators have already done the hard work and done these interviews and shot these videos, and it's well worth sharing and looking into. So the first video that I want to share with you is this story straight out of Victoria in Melbourne. From one of our own independent media organizations here, Discernable. Now, they just released yesterday an interview with a police officer, a Victoria police member. It was just like riveting stuff to watch because we have not actually been given an insight into what the actual police are thinking about, the response that's taking place in terms of the way the public and the police are interacting with each other, and the dynamic that's been created by the way in which the government is also involved in policing at the moment through the Cho directives. So this is just riveting stuff, and if you haven't seen it, I want to show you some highlights from that show right now.
The consequences of me being here today is that I will be resigning from Victoria Police effective the end of this interview.
Wow.
Because the consequences of me coming out publicly would be dismissal. So I'm choosing to quit, and I'm quitting because I can't remedy in my soul anymore the way in which my organisation that I love to work for is being used, and the damage that it's causing in the reputation of Victoria Police, and the damage that it's causing to the community.
Wow. I don't think, has there ever been another instance in our state or even in our country where a police officer has actually said they're resigning on a live show in their uniform? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. So it's riveting stuff. I implore you to go watch this interview in full. Again, this is coming from the perspective of one police officer, and yes, she is speaking for a group of people that she's representing through some union outfit that she's leading in response to some of the vaccine mandates as well. So that's kind of the overall broader context, but it just does give you that different perspective from a working member of the police force, and something definitely that if you haven't caught up this week, you should definitely watch it. And now the second video I have is from an investigative journalist outfit in the United States of America, Project Veritas. Now, if you don't know Project Veritas, they've been around for a long time doing these kind of undercover investigative stories about very hot topic items, right? So right now, one of the biggest topics in the world is, coronavirus and obviously the vaccine. And these guys at Project Veritas, they've been doing undercover work, getting recordings of employees at certain vaccine manufacturing companies. The latest videos are an expose of Pfizer. So they've got a few Pfizer employees talking about the vaccine and their thoughts on things like natural immunity.
Your antibodies are probably better at that point than the vaccination.
Nick Carl is an experienced biochemist at Pfizer with a history of working in the pharmaceutical industry.
I won't go too much into it because of all the censorship, but I will link to all these videos. And also they've got a Pfizer whistleblower. So someone that's actually worked at Pfizer have come to Project Veritas with internal emails and shown kind of the underlying discussions taking place between the management at Pfizer when considering how to present some of this information to the wider public. So again, very interesting videos. It's ongoing. It's only been in the last couple of days they've started to release this stuff. I've linked to it all below, and I recommend that you check it out because it's again a perspective that you're not getting through traditional media sources. The third video that I want to share with you guys, we have to go to New South Wales, Sydney. We've got the Aussie Cossack. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Who is a man of many hats, independent journalist, a YouTube content creator, aspiring politician, businessman, patriot. He wears many hats, and he's just been arrested by the New South Wales Police Force. And, you know, I'm going to link to these videos to show you the arrest and the things that kind of led up to the arrest as well. And you can make up your own mind if you think this arrest is actually warranted. It would appear that this is kind of a targeted style arrest because they're not really enjoying the way that the Aussie Cossack is exposing some of the things and some of the glaring funny things that the police are up to in New South Wales, and they don't like the way that maybe he carries himself around and records them and does these things. But we have to ask ourselves, has he crossed a line, or is he actually doing a very important expose and citizen journalism? My opinion is that he is, and as annoying as it might be for the police force, I think possibly they might have crossed the line in the way that they are actually targeting him and arresting him for this thing. So
Now, if you just turn around for us, we're going to do a quick search. Is there anything on you that could harm myself or anyone here?
No, mate.
All right, thank you.
So my name is Senior Constable Jane from Bell Health, as I mentioned earlier. Our whole search is going to be video recorded as well, okay?
So I've put a few links below to some of the videos that has been shared of his arrest, a video that's been made by his wife as well, who filmed the arrest, and a few other videos from the Aussie Cossack, so you can get an idea of how this all built up. So yeah, check it out, the Aussie Cossack, and hopefully we'll hear from him as well, because he's got some very interesting things to say sometimes, and I very much enjoy listening to his content and his perspectives. So yeah, check out the Aussie Cossack. And last up, I think we have the most, the funniest story from this entire week. And it's one of those kind of feel-good moments that we have. You know, you like watching one of those Christmas stories where there's like a villain and at the end karma gets them, and you know, everyone just feels good about the whole outcome. And that's what it felt like this week, watching Daniel Andrews getting fined for not having a mask. Not once, but twice. He breached the show directives twice. And of course, you know, by being in such a position and not leading by example, very dangerous, because you know, you could start a super spreading event, you could overwhelm the hospitals, and all sorts of other things that we've been lectured to and told over and over by the Premier and his supporters. So it's just a very funny sequence of events. And the funniest thing with this entire story is that it actually broke through the internet, through users and content creators and independent creators like myself, because the media had already seen him doing this. They had filmed him, and they had thought nothing of this, because I don't know, maybe for them it's just kind of normal behavior to see the great leader walking around without a mask and doing his thing, and they wouldn't think twice about exposing the hypocrisy of the way he's carrying himself on. But no, independent creators like myself, you had Rebel Media reporting on this, almost 16, 17 hours before the media caught onto it the day after, and it had already gone viral. And then all of a sudden you had the media catching up and saying, oh, we've got footage of this, and he's been caught doing this and that. And it was just hilarious how the story built throughout the day, and it ended up with the police investigating and giving Daniel Andrews a fine. And that's just led to more memes and more hilarity, and I've been making fun of it, and I think some people are taking it very seriously, the things that I'm saying. All I'm trying to do is just show the hypocrisy and the stupidity of some of these things that we've been lectured to and spoken down to. Because you have to remember, if it was you and your family that had breached these rules, and the media had caught you, and you were just having a sip of a drink in front of a cafe somewhere, the headlines would say, super spreading family puts the entire state at risk. That's how the mainstream media works. And it's good to have a win here and there where we can switch it around and just make fun of our dear leader. So that was just, the funniest moment I think of this week, possibly of this year. I mean, the guy's been fined twice, and I just can't imagine Dan enjoying the spotlight of being a offender, a rule breaker. Actually, I should maybe talk to some university professors and see if he's been influenced by the far right. All right, enough of that. And of course, some personal news as well. So I've been doing a few, interviews and podcasts. So I'll share some links to that as well. So if you want to find out more about myself and how I got myself here, and some of my background and my earlier childhood, and some of my views on more political topics and things like this. I've recently done an interview with Andrew Bogut on his podcast Bogues, and also with Topher Field. I've done a slow chat. Now, a slow chat with Topher goes for a very long time, but it's interesting if you want to sit there and just kind of listen to us talk about some of the things that are happening in Melbourne. And that's it for the show today. And I hope I do this weekly. I want to do this weekly. I'd love some feedback. And thanks for watching, everyone, and see you guys all next time for In Case You Missed It with Real Rukshan.